grace of our Lord Jesus Christ be with us all this day and forevermore. Amen. Well, good morning and a very warm welcome to all of you as we gather together for our service this morning. And as we welcome our Scouts and for the Founders Day service, it's good to have all of you here with us, and indeed any of your family or friends who are joining us this morning. Our intimations are in the back of the order of service. I encourage you to go through those in your own time. However, I'd just like to pick up on one or two there, just to say that the World Day of Prayer, that's this coming Friday, the 3rd of March at 2 o'clock. And you'd all be very warmly welcome to share together in the World Day of Prayer, and good to see you there. Also, a big thank you from the women's group to everyone who supported the coffee morning yesterday. They raised a tremendous figure of £950 for the Prince and Princess of Wales Hospice, as well as donations for their charity shops. And donations received today at tea and coffee today will also be going to the hospice. So there's a challenge for you. It's £950 right now. Let's see if we can make it a four-figure sum by the end of the day. Well, these are all our intimations for this morning. So let the choir lead us in their introit. Let these words call us to worship today. When cheating is easy, let us be trustworthy. When bullying presents itself, let us be loyal. When a hand can be offered, let us be helpful. In the face of irksome tasks, let us be cheerful. And as God is present, let us be reverent. Let us worship God together, singing our first hymn for this morning. Praise to the Lord, the Almighty, the King of creation.
is with you. As we come to worship you, we seek your mercy and love, and we draw to you in this season of Lent. Creator God, make us trustworthy, for there are those who trust us. Make us loyal, for through loyalty we reach our highest ideals. Teach us to be helpful, for through helpfulness we forget our selflessness. Make us friendly, for there are many, so many who need a friend. God of mercy, we confess that we have sinned against you in our thinking, in our speaking, in our action, an action of word and deed. We have not loved ourselves, our neighbours, or you with our whole heart, mind and strength. Almighty and everlasting God, you love all that you have made, and forgive the sins of all those who look up to you. Create in us a pure heart, that we may receive mercy from you, as we lament all those that we have hurt and things that we have done. Almighty and merciful God, you are more ready to hear than we to pray, and you give more than either we desire or deserve. Pour down upon us the abundance of your mercy. Forgive us through Jesus Christ, the perfect one, who is alive and reigns with you, and who taught us the family prayer to say together, Our Father, who art in heaven, hallowed be thy name. Thy kingdom come, thy will be done on earth as it is in heaven. Give us this day our daily bread, and forgive us our debts, as we forgive our debtors. And lead us not into temptation, but deliver us from evil. For thine is the kingdom, the power, and the glory forever. Amen.
Well, a very warm welcome to the 159 Scouts. Now, who brought shoes this morning and brought them up? Hands up if you brought shoes and brought them up. Excellent, well done. That is really, really good. And it was a bit of a challenge because I thought we might get an added aroma in the church this morning by inviting you all to bring your shoes. But you've all brought clean shoes. That's brilliant. Right, okay. I wonder if you can do something for me. If you brought a pair of shoes up here, come, grab your pair of shoes and get a space somewhere up here, okay? Off you go. Up you get, come and get your shoes and grab a space somewhere up on the steps. Anywhere you can spread right out, because you're going to need a wee bit of space to do this, okay? That's it. Brilliant. Right. Can you, if you reach out like that, and be touching somebody beside you? If you are, then you're too close, so find a space, right? That's good. Now, what size shoes have we got this morning? What size shoe is yours? You don't know? Well, it's about the right size for you, isn't it? Do you think it's the right size for everybody? No, you don't. All right, okay. What size shoe have you brought? You've forgotten as well. Well, I'll tell you something. This doesn't matter, because what I want you to do, right, is I want you to have a look and try and work out if there's someone who has shoes about your size. What I want you to do, right, and some of you have already got your shoes off, which is great. I want you to trade shoes with somebody else and put them on. Alright? See if you can find somebody who's got feet that might fit you. It might not be your style of trainer or shoes, but just for this moment, try and find somebody with shoes about your size and swap over and put them on. Right? Go for it. I'd offer you my shoes, but I've got holes in my socks, so I'm not going to bother. Sunday, you have to have holy socks. There we go. How are we getting on? Have we managed to do it? Or have we just stood and looked at each other awkwardly and pretended? No? Do you not think it? I think 8 and a 12, that's not going to work very what, his feet will fit in yours. Yeah, they would, but yours will not fit in his. No, you're absolutely right. Okay. Right, how are we getting on? Do you like your new shoes? Are they comfy? Are they? Who wants to keep the shoes they've got now? You want to keep the shoes you've got now, do you? Okay. Who wants to give them back? Who wants to give them back? Why do you want to give them back? Why would you want to give them back? They're too big. Are they too big? Do you not think they're nice shoes? No, they're not nice shoes for you. I bet they're nice shoes for somebody else, but not for you. Alright, okay. Would you want to swap the 8s and the 12s? You wouldn't want to swap the 8s and 12s, would you? No. Why not? It'd be comfy for you because your feet would fit in his shoes, wouldn't they? Yeah. But then they'd probably flop about a bit, wouldn't they? Yeah. And then if you tried to do it to his shoes, your toes would come through the ends, and those pumas will be destined for the bin. So we're not going to try that. But you know what this is all about? Because has anyone got a pair of shoes? You've got a pair of shoes you don't like, right? Has anyone got a pair of shoes that they're wearing and you think they're not very comfortable? Yeah, because your shoes are comfy, but somebody else's shoes might not be comfy. But one of the challenges that we have as Scouts is to always remember how other people live and to understand that. And so there's a saying about you never understand what life is like for somebody else unless you walk a mile in their shoes. Not everybody has shoes that are as good as yours. Not everybody has the comfort that you have. Some people have difficult lives, and so things are uncomfortable for them, just like the shoes that you don't quite fit in, just like these 8s and 12s. And walking a mile in somebody else's shoes gives you an understanding that other people's lives are different. And when we look to work together as Scouts and look to work together with other people, we have to always remember our lives might be good, other people's lives might be good, but there might be some people who need you to lend a hand. So I want you to remember that. Do you want to swap your shoes back? Yes? Excellent. Right, you can swap your shoes back. Well done. Well done for not putting your toes through the pumas. And once you change your shoes, you can go and sit down. What I would like to do now is I would like to invite two of Scouts up. I want to invite Nicholas and Henry, who are going to tell us all about a very exciting adventure that lies ahead for the two of them. So, I'm going to take the microphone and make sure it's switched on for you. It is indeed. Right, go for it.
Okay, so in the summer, Nicholas and I are off to South Korea for the 25th World Scout Jamboree. But first of all, what is the World Scout Jamboree? Well, it occurs every 4 years, and each time is hosted by a different country. It's where Scouts from all over the world come together and they learn about each other's cultures and they make new friends. The first World Scout Jamboree was decided to be hosted by Sir Baden-Powell. And it happened after the First World War, when he decided that it was necessary for Scouts from all over the world to come together and share ideas and learn about each other. The first World Scout Jamboree was hosted in Olympia in London. And afterwards, it proved that it was a great way for Scouts and young people to learn about the spirit of friendship, comradeship, and learn about each other's cultures and find out new interesting things about the world that they live in.
As Henry has said, we're travelling this July to South Korea. 240 people will go from Scotland, 4,000 from the UK, 40,000 from around the world, to all be at a 12-day scout camp, which is 8.8 kilometres squared, 30 degrees of heat, where you'll participate in activities, make friends, and just learn all the cultures. Yeah.
Also, I'd like to add that we have to travel in kilts and socks, so we'll be arriving in 30-degree heats, sweating, itchy, it'll be lovely. And so in the run-up to the 25th World Scout Jamboree, Scouts from all over the world took part in their own selection events to test whether they could work well with others and would be able to go on the Jamboree. And so, in November, over a year ago, in the freezing cold, Nicholas and I were up in Auchengillan participating in our own selection event. We took part in team building exercises with Scouts from all over the Clyde district of Scotland. And we learned about problem solving skills and leadership skills, and we tested ourselves to see whether we would be able to go on the Jamboree. Following the selection event, the Scouts that were selected took part in a number of training camps, the first of which was a scavenger hunt throughout Glasgow, where we had to use public transport and our own wits to get about to the selected destinations and do certain activities, such as a human pyramid at Glasgow University. This was also public embarrassment since we were out where everyone could see us, but anyway. After the scavenger hunt, we went back to the Scout Hall and we stayed the night. We also took part in Highland dancing, since during the World Scout Jamboree, we're going to have to be displaying our own country's culture to everyone else. So we were learning about the dancing and different things. So.
The most recent camp was last September at Fordham Firs, where all the Scottish units came together to participate and get to know each other. There was a lot of just getting to know each other, team building activities. There was a big slip and slide, and we also tried Korean barbecue, which is a Korean food which was alright. So, yeah. There was also Scout Zone, so there was just remembering Scouts and what they've done. So, yeah. Oh yeah, and then fundraising. So we've done quite a few unit fundraisings. So we did the Kilt Walk. So that was walking 26 miles in kilts along the Clyde. We've also done Tesco, like a bucket thing. And we've also done some of our own fundraising. So I've been bussing in town, and I also did the 3 Peak Challenge, which is climbing Ben Nevis, Scafell Pike and Snowdon all in under 24 hours, which was a challenge. We completed it in 23 hours and 50 minutes, so just did it. We will also be holding a coffee morning at some point in the next couple of months, so you can keep a lookout for that. It'll be coming out soon.
Probably early April.
Yeah. Thank you.
Thank you very much, boys. We wish the two of you every blessing. We hope you have a super time when you go out, and we will be delighted to support the coffee morning when the time comes. So make sure we get that information, and we can tell everybody about it so we can come and support you. But it sounds like a tremendous experience. You'll be able to exchange culture and see what life is like for Scouts all over the world. That's something that we will never ever forget, and that's a very precious thing. So well done, have a super time. You must promise me one thing: you'll come back, tell us all about it when you come back. Alright? We're going to sing together now our next hymn, One More Step Along the World I Go.
32. Count yourself lucky, how happy you must be. You get a fresh start, your slate's wiped clean. Count yourself lucky, God holds nothing against you, and you're holding nothing back from him. When I kept it all inside, my bones turned to powder. My words became day-long groans. The pressure never let up. All the juices of my life dried up. Then I let it all out. I said, I'll come clean about my failures to God. Suddenly, the pressure was gone. My guilt dissolved. My sin disappeared. These things add up. Every one of us needs to pray. When all hell breaks loose and the dam bursts, we'll be on high ground, untouched. God's my island hideaway, keeps danger far from the shore, throws garlands of hosannas around my neck. Let me give you some good advice. I'm looking you in the eye and giving it to you straight. Don't be ornery like a horse or mule that needs a bit and bridle to stay on track. God defiers are always in trouble. God affirmers find themselves loved every time they turn around. Celebrate God. Sing together, everyone. All you honest hearts, raise the roof.
Hear our second reading from Matthew chapter 4, verses 1 to 11.
The testing of Jesus. Then Jesus was led up by the Spirit into the wilderness to be tested by the devil. He fasted 40 days and 40 nights, and afterwards he was famished. The tempter came and said to him, "If you're the Son of God, command these stones to become loaves of bread." But he answered, "It is written, one does not live by bread alone, but by every word that comes from the mouth of God." Then the devil took him to the holy city and placed him on the pinnacle of the temple, saying to him, "If you're the Son of God, throw yourself down, for it is written, he will command his angels concerning you, and on their hands they will bear you up, so that you will not dash your foot against a stone." Jesus said to him, "Again it is written, do not put the Lord your God to the test." Again, the devil took him to a very high mountain and showed him all the kingdoms of the world and their glory. And he said to him, "All these I will give you, if you will fall down and worship me." Then Jesus said to him, "Away with you, Satan, for it is written, worship the Lord your God, and serve only him." Then the devil left him, and suddenly angels came and waited on him.
Thanks be to God for these readings from His Word, and thank you to the two scouts for bringing these readings to us this morning. We now come to our prayers of thanksgiving and intercession. Creator God, we thank you for this time of worship and bringing us all here this day, a time for sharing, renewing and togetherness. We express thanks for the work of the Prince and Princess of Wales Hospice and the Money in the Nations made here yesterday. We thank you for Robert and Olive Baden-Powell, founders of the Scouts and Guides movements in this world. We give thanks for all those involved with scouting and guiding throughout your world and the lives that have been enriched by these organisations. Thank you for all who teach and guide and who influence the lives of others. Thank you for the great outdoors, the trees, the streams and the hillsides. May we know it was you who made the waters to flow, the trees to reach heavenward, the mountains to endure to all ages. In all these things we are grateful. Tender God, your love is unconditional, wider, deeper and truer than we can ever fully know. For those of us who find it hard to accept ourselves, hear our prayer. Compassionate God, for those of us who feel stretched and tired and whose lives are strained and stressed, hear our prayer. Merciful God, for those of us holding on to life by our fingertips or those grips that are very fragile, hear our prayer. Healing God, for those of us whose illness makes us vulnerable or leaves us isolated, hear our prayer. Loving God, for those of us whose journey is chaotic or find ourselves in turmoil, hear our prayer. Caring God, for those whose calling is to journey with and care for others, hear our prayer. We rejoice in the family of your church. May all come find love and fellowship. May they find acceptance and friendship. Lord, help your church to be instrumental of peace and healing in the world. As we come together, let us show the unity that is ours in Christ Jesus. Let us show one faith, one church, one God. Amen. We're now going to come together as we sing the hymn, I Will Sing the Wondrous Story.
I
a scout troop, and I know one thing. I know because I've done my homework that you are all gifted young people. And like all of you, Jesus was also a gifted young person. And our scripture takes place at the beginning of his ministry. And he's not actually all that much older than some of you. The people back in Nazareth, his hometown, think very highly of him. Jesus is, in no doubt, a respectful, articulate, bright, good student, Chief Scouts Gold Award kind of guy. And in the passage that we have just read, Jesus has just come from his baptism. It's a spiritual high where the heavens have opened up and he's been claimed as God's child. Then Jesus sets out to face the world, and he's led into the wilderness for 40 days and 40 nights. That has to be the longest scout camp we can possibly imagine. 40 days and 40 nights in biblical times means a really long time. And I can imagine Jesus all alone under a hot sun, day after day, getting hungrier and lonelier by the hour. But Jesus must have been made of stronger stuff than I, because if the days were long, then the lonely nights must have been even longer. And then finally, when Jesus is at his most hungry and at his most lonely, when he is probably wondering what in the world did that baptism mean anyway, it's right at that point that the devil begins to tempt him. And Matthew tells us that there are 3 temptations. Jesus is simply starving. He has not eaten for 40 days or 40 nights. The devil says, you can eat, Jesus. You can do it. Turn these stones into bread. You've got the power. Use it. But Jesus says no. And then Jesus is whisked away to the top of the temple. The devil says, you've got the gift of power. You've got it in you. Test your power. Throw yourself down. The angels will protect you. And again, Jesus says no. And finally, the devil takes Jesus to the top of a mountain and shows him all the kingdoms of the world. And he says, if you worship me, you can have it all, Jesus. You'll be in charge. The world will think you're successful. The only catch, you'll have to deny that pesky little baptism and worship me instead. At the end of the day, these temptations are about Jesus' identity. Who are you, Jesus? And how will you use your God-given gifts? Are you the one who was baptized in the River Jordan, who came out of those waters committed to living as God would have you live in the world, using your God-given gifts to heal the sick, bind up the broken-hearted, stick up for the forgotten, and advocate on behalf of the poor and the oppressed? Or are you going to sell out? Are you going to give in? Are you going to take the easy way? Are you going to chase after trivial, shallow things like power, popularity, success, and prestige? How will you use your gifts, Jesus, for God and for others, or for yourself? That is the test that Jesus is facing. And that is the test that every single one of us face every day of our lives. Are we going to be God's child? Are we going to use our God-given gifts on behalf of others? Or will we give in to temptations around us and use our gifts for only ourselves? Will we look out for others, or will we just look after ourselves? And as you all know, discerning what is of God and what is not is hard. And as Jesus discovers, we are tempted precisely in those things that we want the most, in the places that we are the most gifted. I remember being at school when one of the other boys in the class seemed to have everything. was the full package. He was brilliant at sports. His classwork was effortless. He never seemed to work, but he always got those grades. And he had his pick of all the girls. Keen student I was of all of that. I said to him, "Why do all the girls fancy you?" Zeroing in on the most important one. And he said, "Oh, it's so easy," he said. "I tell them whatever it is they want to hear." Put simply, I lied to them. And that is how temptation works in our lives. There's no devil that goes around dressed up in a red suit with a pitchfork and funny tail, because if he did, it would be easy. We'd see the devil, we'd take off for the hills, we wouldn't think twice. But temptation is far more subtle than that. The tempter tells us exactly what we want to hear. It's sort of like what C.S. Lewis said about us. He said, if we consider the unblushing and staggering nature of the rewards promised in the Gospels, it would seem that God finds our desires not too strong, but too weak. We are half-hearted. We fool around when infinite joy is offered us, like a child who goes on making mud pies because he cannot imagine what is meant by the offer of a holiday at the sea. We are far too easily pleased. We have all been given the great blessing of living a heroic, adventurous life in the world. And too often, we throw it away. We get caught up in a rat race, we give chase to empty dreams of fame, fortune and security, and before you know it, we've become just like everyone else. Just remember, even if you win the rat race, you're still a rat. Now I have a confession to make, because in Glasgow there is something of a divide when it comes to football. You support Rangers, you support Celtic. Now, the confession is not that I'm a Partick Thistle supporter, because everyone seems to know that one already. But it's unusual for players to play for Rangers and Celtic. There are some who have done it. There are some who have even played for Rangers, Celtic and Partick Thistle too. But I was a scout for a short time. But here's the secret. I was also in the Boys Brigade too. But when I was in the Scouts, and that was probably a formative time for me, my parents had just split up. My dad had moved away to live in America, and I was going through a particularly difficult time. I didn't feel like I fitted in, and I didn't feel like I fitted in the Scouts. And it was a hard time. It wasn't the Scouts, it was just fitting in. And I remember saying to Gary, my Scout leader, I just wish that right now I could be like everybody else. And to his credit, he said, be like everybody else. How boring is that? Don't be like everybody else. Be the person that you are created to be. Use the gifts that have been given to you. Mother Teresa knew this well. She didn't fit in. God was calling her to do something different with her life. She was asked, Mother, how is it that you are so holy? And she said, if you act as if holiness is abnormal, for those of us who follow Jesus, holiness should be normal. The rest of the world is abnormal. I worked as a university chaplain in Princeton, and during that time I would talk with young men and women about what was going on in their lives, in their classes, their parents, their relationships, life back home and life on campus. And often I would talk to them about what they want to do when they graduate, how they will decide what they're going to do with the rest of their lives. It's a hard question, and it's perhaps the most important question we will ever ask. And I used to suggest that God works through the people around us. So I tell them to go and talk to their close friends, people who have known them well, people they trust, and ask them, what are my gifts? Where do you see my gifts working in the world? God calls all of us to be precisely where our great gifts and passions meet the world's deep needs. That intersection forms a cross. Pick it up, carry it to new life. Every single one of you have been given gifts. And I know that the 159th Scout Troop, you're all very intelligent. Some of you will be great musicians. Some of you will be amazing athletes. Many of you will be artistic and creative. I'm absolutely sure that you are all charming and sensitive and compassionate, all in great, boundless quantities, except when you're at home talking to your parents. But I'm absolutely sure that you all have something of that. God has given you these and many other things, and every day of your life you'll be faced with the same decisions that Jesus faced. Will you use your gifts for yourself, to make yourself look better, for power, for popularity and success? Or will you use them to serve others, to find somewhere in the world that is hurting and use your gifts to bring healing? Will you do that? In Spider-Man 2, Spider-Man comes to a crossroads in his life, and it's a crossroads that every single one of us will face many times. He's been given this great gift, but it comes with responsibility. He's been using his gifts for good in the world, to serve others, to make his community better, but it has meant that he's had to push some of his own desires and needs to the side. He could use his gifts to make loads of money. He could do that, but it'd be unethical. He could reveal his identity to the girl he loves, but it would put her in danger. He's tempted to be selfish, to keep those gifts to himself, to return to his regular old Peter Parker kind of life, just fitting in, just being like everyone else. Then his wise Aunt May, one of those people in his life who knows him well and loves him, says the following, and I think it's worth listening to again. I believe there is a hero in all of us that keeps us honest, gives us strength, makes us know, and finally allows us to die with pride. Even though sometimes we have to be steady, give up the thing we want the most, even our dreams. Sometimes we have to put those dreams aside and ask, what would God want me to do with my gifts? Where is there deep need in the world that I can fill? At times we will be tempted to turn back, take an easier road, and go in another direction. In C.S. Lewis' book, The Silver Chair, Jill finds that she is alone in a strange land, tempted to run back home where it is safe and secure. She's lonely, she's hungry, she's thirsty. Then she sees a stream with a lion resting next to it. May I? Could I? Would you mind going away while I drink? Said Jill. The lion answered with a look and a very low growl as Jill gazed at its motionless bulk. She realised that she might as well have asked the whole mountain to move aside just for her convenience. The delicious rippling noise of the stream was driving her frantic. Do you promise not to do anything to me if I do come over? Said Jill. I make no promise, said the lion. Jill was so thirsty now that without noticing it, she had come a step nearer. Do you eat girls? She said. I have swallowed up girls and boys, women and men, kings and emperors, cities and realms, said the lion. It didn't say this as if it were boasting, nor as if it were sorry, nor as if it were angry. It just said it. I daren't come and drink, said Jill. Then you will die of thirst, said the lion. Oh dear, said Jill, coming another step nearer. I suppose I must go look for another stream then. There is no other stream, said the lion. You've all been given gifts. We've all been given gifts to use for others in the world. Like Jill in front of the stream, keep going forward. Don't turn back. The adventure that lies ahead of you is too exciting. You have friends on the journey to help guide you, just as you have gifts to use for others. We also have the gift of God and the gift of God Himself in Jesus. And if out there in the wilderness of life you get hungry and tired lonely and weary, when you're tempted to forget who you are and whose you are, that's okay. Because it happens to all of us. It even happened to Jesus. Remember who you are. Remember what you have. Come back to this place, because you see it's always open. God is always ready to give his gifts to us. Amen. And let it be so. I'd like to now invite you, before Tom plays the organ, to come and renew your promises. So I invite you to do that now. Let us sing our closing hymn together. Here I am, Lord, I the Lord of sea and sky. Go forth into the world in peace. Be of good courage. Hold fast to what is good. Render to no one evil for evil. Strengthen the faint-hearted. Support the weak. Help the afflicted. Honour all people. Love and serve the Lord, rejoicing in the power of the Holy Spirit. And may the blessing of God Almighty, Father, Son, and Holy Spirit be upon you and all those whom you love, this day and forevermore.